Today, I'm going to talk to you about regret. You see, in 2016, I got back into cars after not really caring for a little while. Before I started my channel, I sort of went through cars phases where for a few months, I'd be really into buying cars diecasts and everything like that, and then I'd kind of phase out of it. I was a kid, and it was a phase that I went through every once in a while where I just became interested in cars again. One of these phases was in the spring of 2016, and that's when I found a bunch of the cars YouTubers that inspired me to start my channel. At this time, one of the newest cars out was Andy Vaporlock, a car that I really wanted to get my hands on. I went out to Walmart and Target and presumably Toys R Us one day, because Toys R Us still existed back then, and, well, I didn't buy Andy Vaporlock. I thought I did, but it turned out that I actually bought Michael Sparkburr instead of Andy Vaporlock here. Michael Sparkburr being another one of the Rusty cars in the Rusty's tent scene in the first Cars movie. For whatever reason, I thought I'd purchased the right guy, but I hadn't. The two don't look very similar in terms of diecast. I mean, I guess so, but Andy's a very different shape from Michael. I guess I just didn't have a good enough look at him. I didn't remember his name. I just knew, oh, I'm looking for this cool Rusty car I saw online. So I accidentally bought the wrong one, and I ended up being pretty annoyed at myself once I realized that. I never saw Andy Vaporlock again, and then he ended up going for about $70 on eBay as of, last year. So I was incredibly excited when I found out that Andy Vaporlock would finally be getting a re-release in 2022. Much like with how Cars 2 is focusing on something that they haven't really focused on in a while for diecast releases with things from the 95 Returns part of the movie, we haven't gotten the Rusty's Rusty cars for quite a while. We had a whole series of them in 2013, which returned in 2016 where we got Andy, and it's been basically radio silence for those guys ever since, so it's pretty cool to see all of these cars again. Especially for me, Andy, who I've been waiting to get for a very long time now. Anyway, guys, welcome back to yet another review. Today we're going to take a look at the 2022 Made in Thailand re-release of Andy Vaporlock. So let's get started. Very nice artwork there. It's kind of jarring to see some of these cars with this red background behind them, when in the past they were on the Rusty's Racing Series background, which is just a lot of tans and grays. It was a movie screenshot they were plopped onto. With this super stylized art style for the packaging, it just kind of looks out of place when you have certain artworks there, especially with how the lighting is on characters like Andy and Otis. I don't know, how I think the lighting should be, but I feel like it's a little bit too dark on the side of some of the cars, and it just shouldn't be that way because they're not in a real-life background or a movie background. There shouldn't be any shadow on these guys. They're on just a completely two-dimensional drawn background, if that makes any sense. I just think, I don't know, some of them look a bit off because of shading from when their artwork was originally done. On the back we have As Seen in Cars with the King, Murray Clutchburn, Dave Alternators, Marlon Clutches McKay, who I have right here, who I bought to repaint. We've got Sarge, Dash Boardman, and Darla Vanderson. I want to say all these guys are out. I don't think the King is out as a single yet this year. I'm not sure about Sarge, and I don't think Dash is either, but at the very least, all of them actually appeared in the first Cars, which cannot be said about every card back, unfortunately. They do not always line up with the As Seen In label. Once again, we have a little plastic insert on the side here, keeping Andy a bit safer than this new bubble would, which is definitely interesting. Just kind of makes you question why not just use the old bubble design, but I don't really care. Andy is a very nice matte paint. Of course, I know a lot of people don't like the feeling of matte paint, myself included, but definitely works for the character. He's a very interesting shape, very wide in the front, thinner in the back. A very interesting looking car. You can see he's looking off to the side there. We've got his grill, big grin on his face. It's nice to see a car looking off to the side. I'm not the biggest fan of when they have the cars look off to the side, but, it's something different. It's always nice to have a bit of variety and expression so that not everybody is just looking straight dead forward. And it's very expressive, and I'm sure it probably matches Andy's expression in the movie. I just don't know which of the Rusty cars is him, since they all appear at the exact same angle, and they're all very similar. You have the grille there, headlights. Really, really nice dirt detailing and rust detailing all over this guy. It looks like a very, like, grimy car, and I think it looks really nice. We've got this sort of rusty stripe running across the side. It's actually textured because there's, like, a line there that the rust is sort of collected on. Even the windows are sort of dirty and grimy and washed over with matte paint. We have a huge dent here on the side. These brown wheels. Onto the back, we've got a lot of just corrosion going on. Very nice. The only part of him that isn't corroded is his license plate, which I guess he probably recently had replaced. 47-M4U for that. And the back just looks great. Look at all the disgusting detailing on the bumper. This guy is so detailed. No wonder he ended up becoming so expensive. I never realized just how much effort was put into this guy. And it's nice to see, and it's something that still carries on to this day. If a car looks like this, you know, if a car that they choose to make is super detailed, they're going to go out of their way to make it that detailed. And that's something that I really appreciate about the Cars diecast line. It's an area where a lot of other toy lines would sort of cheap out. But no, when you have a car as detailed as Andy, they're going to put their resources in to make sure he is that detailed. Finally, there is a look at the base. Very uniquely shaped car. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Very glad to finally have this guy. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.